Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 207. As always, I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it's great to be with you again. My guest this episode is none other than the rapper, artist, creative named ToBy, that's T-O-B-Y, whose new release, The Outside EP, will hit stores and streaming services everywhere this Friday, July 10th. Now, ToBy's latest EP is an incredible one. It's a journey, it's a wave, it's a vibe, it's something that you just need to let consume your life for a little while. And on this episode of Inside Music, ToBy tells us how it came together from his home in Los Angeles. We also talk about his archive of material that he's waiting to release upon the world, developing during the pandemic, and learning to promote yourself in these unprecedented times. It's a really great conversation, especially for anyone trying to figure out how to get their name out there right now in the music business. But before we get there, I need to tell you a few quick things. This episode of Inside Music, like every episode of the show, is brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading promotional distribution company. Join ToBy, Megan Thee Stallion, Bruce Springsteen, Slipknot, Tool, and thousands more by promoting your music on Holix today. Visit HAULIX.com today and sign up and start your free 1-month trial. That's HAULIX.com today. Also, don't forget to check out ToBy's EP, The Outside, when it arrives this week. But right now, just sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Inside Music.
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. So I imagine that it's probably very hot there today.
Oh yeah, it's like 90 today.
Well, that's good. It's about 90 degrees here in Michigan where I live, so you're not really outshining me too much on that front. It's just hot everywhere, I feel like.
Oh God, yeah, that's summer heat.
Well, this is a big week for you. I had a chance to listen to your new EP, The Outside, comes out this week, this Friday, available everywhere. And I had to talk to you about it because something I love about music, any music really, but a release that has, like, for lack of a better word, as the kids say today, a vibe. And there's something very almost dreamlike about a lot of the material on this EP that just sucks me in, and I keep coming back to it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
No problem. Could you, for people listening, kind of give us a little bit of a story here? Like, tell us what the Outside EP is about.
Okay. Well, the Outside EP is really just like a return to form for me. I've been making music for going on 10 years, and I've explored a lot of different styles. But originally what attracted me to hip-hop in general was like lo-fi producers. Well, they wouldn't have been called lo-fi back then, but like producers like Jay Dilla, Madlib, even MF Doom, who were taking like really low fidelity samples and low fidelity drums and just making like really, really inspirational beats and music out of them. So the Outside is really just me going back to those initial inclinations with the music that I enjoyed and exploring deep, like personal, intimate parts of myself and just like kind of sharing that for the first time.
I think that it works really well in the context of this release. Maybe it's because of what's happening in the world right now, but I feel like the key to releasing music successfully right now in 2020 is giving people something that they can really latch onto on like a personal level. Like, I was just talking to somebody earlier today that I feel like disposable pop music is really struggling right now because so many people are like, I don't have time for, it's all good, it's all party vibes all the time. Like, I don't have that in me right now.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. It's difficult. I know we've all been inside for the past like 4 months, and I don't know anybody who's feeling particularly like jovial about any of it. So I totally resonate with that.
It's almost as if we didn't have TikTok kind of leading the charts in certain ways, some of those songs might not be topping them just because we'd all be like, I don't mean, if there's not a dance to it, it's not getting any traction right now. So I appreciate when I hear a release.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I appreciate your release because, like I said, there's like this wave to it. You know, the song that really I come back to the most so far is New Car, second track on the album. I mean, Osiris, a strong opening, but New Car, you really settle into the groove of the record. I feel like you really find a flow that works so well. And I'm curious, when you're set out to make this project, you talk about kind of a return to form for yourself. What was like the big idea you wanted to, I guess, get across? Because it feels like there are 5 separate stories here, but there are a lot of themes that kind of tie it all together. So for you, you know, what was like I want it to sound like this or feel like this or elicit this kind of sensation?
For sure. I think with these 5 different, very, very unique tracks, the overall picture that I wanted to paint was like a self-portrait. In so much that, like you said on New Car, that song is really just about me buying a new car for the first time, and like having that sort of freedom. When I first moved to LA, I was relying on public transportation for like a whole year, and I don't know if you know anything about Los Angeles, but that's like really difficult to do because the maps don't really take you to places you need to go. So just like discovering that sense of freedom and you know, kind of heralding it and exaggerating it to this point where it's like a whole track about, you know, independence and whatnot. It just kind of goes to the fact that the project is just 5 songs about me as a person, you know, the guy behind ToBy, told through ToBy's artistic sensibilities. But yeah, I mean, when you contextualize it and you put it in the, you know, lens of what's going on today, it's really just kind of mirroring the different sensibilities and the different I'm losing the words, and the different like perspectives of the current day and just speaking openly and honestly about them.
What really attracts me to some of the later tracks, as you said, New Car really establishes a sense of freedom to really everything that's happening. That's what I mean when I'm trying to refer to like this vibe or this wave. There's just, it almost feels like I'm floating through the narrative that you're telling me as I'm going along, thanks to the production. But what I think kind of harnesses me to the ground as a listener is that as much as there's this sense of freedom, like there's so many layers to the lyrics, and it's not like it's all good times now because this worked out. It's like this worked out, but these 3 things went wrong, and then there's this thing that's still up in the air, and it really feels like you're trying to sort a lot of stuff out on this release.
Oh yeah. So I've always been a person who has been bad at offering solutions to things, but I'm really good at like highlighting the things that went wrong, you know, just like looking for the actual mechanics of different issues. But I'm the first guy to tell you that I don't have all the answers. And I think that's really what I try to convey with my music, because a lot of the times people get mistaken and look to artists and look to musicians for the answers. And the stark reality of the situation is that we don't have all the answers, but we can see where the problems are, and we can see fundamentally where, you know, things went wrong. But like I really wanted to, you know, dispel any notions of hubris and just say before, you know, anything gets out of hand that I'm just a human being with a lot of questions and a lot of curiosities. And if you want like share in that experience with me, then by all means.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Why I love this record so much is, again, I think that this is what most listeners want right now. Like it used to be, we look to musicians to be like, tell me how I should live my life. And right now, I think the vibe is more like, tell me that you understand the chaos of what's happening right now and our search for like a little bit of peace amidst it all. And this album is like the perfect combination of those 2 elements.
Oh yeah, I was definitely going for unity through the specific on this one. I really just wanted to, you know, talk about myself in a way that may invite or incite future conversations amongst other people about, what they relate to it, or how my problems may seem similar to theirs.
For anyone that hasn't heard your music before, I know that this is a return to form. You've been doing this for a while, but I like to think of every new thing you put out is possibly being the first time anyone ever listens to something that you've made. So for people that have not gotten into the world of ToBy before, how do you pitch it to people? Like, what is your story for people that are like, what do you do? What is it?
Oh man, that's honestly not even a question I've been able to successfully answer. The current iteration of my answer right now is just I'm a creative person. I'm just someone who likes to create and make art and content that, makes me feel like I have a worthwhile purpose. So what ToBy really is just a vessel and a vehicle for the ideas that I wake up with and think, oh, that's crazy, but it would definitely work. ToBy's just the machine that cranks all of that out.
I love it. And when it comes to releasing this record, it's an EP, it's 5 tracks. Was it always an EP in your mind? I'm curious your process of choosing to do an EP right now versus doing an album or just doing a string of singles. How did you land on a 5-song EP?
So the decision to go with an EP was born out of both coincidence and necessity, because I'm sitting on so much music, so much unreleased music, and I have this really bad habit of making more. No matter what, every day I get a chance to, I'm making 2 or 3 new songs, which I guess isn't a bad problem to have. But the decision to make an EP was basically, I was going back and forth with the producer of the EP, which I have to give a huge shout out to, OE Beats. He made all of the records on this EP, and he's phenomenal. The decision to make an EP was just, years of me and him going back and forth, him sending me a pack of beats, me sending him 2-3 tracks, till the point where we were like, okay, whoa, we have to slow down. We have so many. I already have X amount of albums sequenced and done. Let's compile the best of these songs into something that creates the most effective picture of what I want to convey, and put that out as its own project. So necessity and coincidence.
My thing when I'm like you, I try to do a lot of creativity all the time, and I end up backing up all this extra content. And the hardest decision for me to make is not releasing everything as soon as it's done and just giving it to people. You have a great team around you. You have Raby doing PR, where it's they'll be no, you need a month or more to promote this. We got to roll it out. We got to do A, B, and C. I'm the type of person that's if left to my own devices, I'll be let's just put it out right now. And they're that's not how you promote a thing. It's no, but why not?
Oh yeah. I actually ended up doing that the week before, last week or 2 weeks ago, something like that. I just dropped a mini 4-track project of demos that, like I said, were sitting in my vault. And cause I didn't want them to not get heard, but I also, didn't have the wherewithal or time to plot this in the release schedule. So I just dropped them on SoundCloud and Audio Mac for free, because I felt like people deserve to hear it.
I love that. And I like that you mentioned Audio Mac, because I feel like more people need to be using it. It's amazing. It's a great service. It's so slick.
Oh, it's an amazing platform. And the people that work there, got to give a huge shout out to Cinema Sci, Yo 31, the people over at DJ Booth, and the VP of content at Audio Mac is one of the coolest people I've ever spoken to. Brian Z, he killed it.
I love that. I'm happy to hear somebody else is as aware of that platform as I am. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. It's like the difference between Triller and TikTok, where everyone's talking about TikTok and Triller's out there with its own audience. I feel like Audio Mac is similarly just everyone talks about SoundCloud, but if you're in the know, it's no, you should give Audio Mac some love.
You really should. And they do such an amazing job with international music. well, they've got a lot of really good things going for them.
So when it comes to releasing the Outside EP this week, what in your mind, is it already a success just because like you've reached the point of it coming out, or do you have some like personal goals for this release that would like, if this happens, I'll consider this like a good rollout, a good release for me?
Well, before it would have been, if I get to tour off this would be a successful release for me. But that I kind of had to put that dream to bed. I think if the number of positive responses outweigh the number of negative responses, I'll chalk it up to a W.
I mean, that's pretty fair, I think. If you stick to that goal of touring, you might end up disappointed through no fault of your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's outside of my control, so
exactly. What about live streams? Have you dabbled in that world at all?
So I am new to the live stream game. I did submit a video for Treble, which is this company in New York that's putting on a concert with Coda the Friend, and they're looking for openers. So, I kind of tossed my hat in the ring for that. I may try and put something together independently. I've got a couple of musician friends out here in LA who have all been quarantining just as hard as I have. And if they want to come together and like do a little mini show for Instagram or something, we may set that up.
See, that's what I love to hear. I love to hear a little bit of innovation. Now, you talked a second ago about your archives, or you're piling up music. How much content do you think you just have sitting on hard drives right now?
Oh, man. So on private links alone, I have another EP, which is a collaborative one between me and Sean Bowe, a really, really good friend of mine. I have that and 2 whole full-length albums.
That is a lot of content. How do they compare?
It's a lot of content.
Let's start with the first part. Is this stuff that you think will see the light of day?
It's stuff that I have a strong hope of seeing the light of day. If not,
that's very fair.
As full, just if not as full studio like LPs. They can come out as mixtapes. I'm fine with that. I like the songs a lot. So if I could get the songs out, that's all that means for me.
Do you know what you will release following the Outside this week? Like, do you know what's next of this collection?
I have a very strong idea of what's going to come after this, and I'm already kind of working to finalize said idea, but I have been made aware through this whole process that, things happen and things don't always go the way you expect them to go. So I'm kind of open to the universe on it while making my own plans.
Well, that's what I love to hear. Now, let's wrap this whole thing up by bringing it back to the project again, out this Friday, the 10th of July, 2020. Tell me, ToBy, what is the song that you find yourself coming back to the most? Like, of these 5 tracks, what's the one that you're just currently like, I got that one right?
Honestly, Cascades. I listened to that so many times during the mixdowns, and I listened to it independently so many times while I'm driving, and I was like, wow, like this doesn't even sound like me. This doesn't even sound like something I could have ever made. And I'm just really, really surprised with how it came out and how everything concerning it just fell into place. That's the song. I love all of my songs. I love all of my children equally, but that song is so special to me, and I hope it's special to someone else.
Well, that is a great answer. I want to leave you with one last question, which is something I've been asking a lot of our guests recently. You are putting out music at a strange time because, as you said, you can't tour right now. You can't do a lot of face-to-face appearances with people. We're speaking over Skype right now. I'm sure you've been spending a lot of time on Skype and Zoom and phone calls and everything in between. What is it like trying to get the word out about a release right now, making people care about, arts again, but also what do you find is the best way to do that? Like, what is the thing that you think is actually getting traction versus, just screaming into the void?
Well, I've actually found that it's been easier to be proactive on social media than it has been in the past. Like, before I used to really struggle to get people's attention to new things that I was doing. But now it seems like since there isn't, much else to do, I can post something about what I'm up to and it gets like a veritable amount of engagement and response, as opposed to how well it was performing in the past. Now, whether or not that continues once we're all allowed outside again, no pun intended, that remains to be seen. But really just like, and it's also the intent too, being genuine and being forthcoming and honest about, what you're trying to say about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, goes the extra mile for promotion where that's concerned. And in all the questionnaires and in all of the interviews that I've been doing for this, I try to keep that as my driving, intention. I just want to be as genuine as possible.
Well, that is a great answer and very useful, I think. I do see that I do feel like people are more open to newer stuff that maybe they're unfamiliar with right now. And I think that is in part because we're reaching this weird period where, like, when coronavirus kicked off and everything locked down, all of the labels were like, we're going to delay some of the big releases. And then we have like 8 weeks of runway for all the stuff that we already have planned. But now we're in that gray area between like all the delayed releases and the stuff that was like already being promoted when coronavirus hit. And now it's like a no man's land where it's like, what is there? Give me something new. I need content, and no one's making content except for the people that already had stuff on deck. So you're in like the perfect place to shine right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty grateful. It could have been way, 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 way worse. And I think if I was releasing any other type of record, I'd be a little more worried. But I think I'm giving people something to actually look forward to, like literally the outside, like literally being able to be outside.
I love it. Well, man, I really like this record. James at Raby, shout out James, has been promoting it to me pretty heavily for the last few weeks. I gave it a listen. New Car grabbed me the first time through. Wishes is one I keep coming back to. Whole album's great. There's a lot more, I'm sure we could talk about it, but I want people to hear it and then, reach out to you. Where can they find you online? What's the easiest way to connect with you?
Honestly, and I used to tell people this, but I don't anymore. If you just Google ToBy Season, TOBY Season, I show up. But if you want a more direct line of access, all of my social handles are at ITS TOBY Season. So that's at It's ToBy Season.
Amazing. Well, one more time, the Outside EP this Friday. 5 tracks. You're going to love them all. ToBy, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Of course. No problem. Thank you.